Lux is portrayed as this insufferable, overpowered prince who demolished an entire nation after his family got kicked out of power. But everything takes a turn when he enrolls at an all-girls academy carrying a massive black sword, which he uses to defeat the princess. The story begins when Lux was working another odd job and accidentally slipped, crashing into the girls' bathroom right on top of a girl named Laysa.
Yeah, boy.
When she threatens to end him, Lux tries to smooth things over by mentioning her chest feels nice despite lacking jiggle physics. Now, totally embarrassed and furious, Laysa turns bright red while the other girls worry about what might happen next. Just like that, Lux finds himself locked up where he tries explaining himself until a girl named Krufer shows up looking at him with complete disgust. Lux attempts to make his case again, but Krufer ignores him and asks about his dark sword. The moment he confirms it's his, a girl called Charis arrives to escort him to the principal's office for his official punishment. On the way, another pretty girl named Tilfer teases Lux about the trouble he's in. When they arrive, Headmaster Relly gets straight to business and addresses him by his official title as former Prince of Acadia. She explains that since the new empire went all in on Drag Knight training after the old empire fell, but there are hardly any guys who can become Drag Knights. So naturally, she encourages Lux to sign up. Right then, a group of girls led by Laysa storms in, shouting about how letting Lux stay would be like letting a snake into their paradise.
I'm a snake.
Not wanting to waste time arguing, Relly gives Laysa full authority to handle Lux, and she immediately challenges him to a duel. Everyone cheers because they're convinced Laysa will destroy Lux with her girl power. That is, until Relly casually mentions that Lux has never been defeated and once dominated the Imperial Capital tournament. Hearing this, Laysa raises the stakes. If she wins, Lux will be sent to live with a man-eating tribe. But if Lux wins, he can stay at their academy and become a Drag Knight like everyone else. As the crowd roars in support, Laysa reveals she's actually the princess of the new empire. Later, Lux gets scolded by his sister Arai, who's also a student there. He apologizes, then asks Arai's roommate, Nuko, why she's standing so stiffly. With a completely straight face, Nuko says she's heard rumors he can lift skirts with just a sneeze. Lux tries explaining himself, but Ari hits him with reality. If he gets thrown in jail, she won't be able to pay off their royal family's debts. Apparently, after Acadia fell, the royal family was labeled as villains, and the only thing keeping them alive is money. Ari urges him to beat Laysa, who's undefeated and terrifying. On the day of the duel, the arena is packed with spectators eager for action. Laysa appears and asks if Lux knows why she challenged him. He guesses it's because of his royal background. She smirks, promising to tell him her real reason after the battle. The fight begins. Lux's drag ride looks basic, while Laysa shows up with a flashy ancient model called Tiamat. She goes full-on anime boss mode, launching countless attacks. Ari watches nervously, knowing Lux is fighting with a knockoff ride. Instead of fighting back, Lux just blocks and redirects Laysa's attacks. He offers a draw, hoping to negotiate, but Laysa's pride won't let her accept defeat. She powers up a massive attack only for her drag ride to glitch mid-combo like a cheap knockoff phone. Before she realizes what's happening, the arena's protective barrier collapses and a monstrous abyss creature crashes the party, with security rushing in to evacuate students. Lux stays behind to fight, which freaks out the others since his equipment is too weak for this battle. From the sidelines, Gisha remembers Lux's plan and waits for a signal to attack. The moment Lux breaks through, she follows up. Together, they take down the monster. With the crisis over, Lux's trusted ride finally gives out. Later, while relaxing in a warm bath, Laysa reflects on how Lux risked everything to protect her, feeling something change in her cold princess heart. She visits him in the infirmary. There, she does something unexpected and shows him her lower back tattoo. Lux recognizes the emblem as the former Empire's crest. When he asks why she has it, she mysteriously says she'll reveal more later. Lux promises to keep her secret. And for the first time, Laysa gives him a genuine smile. The next day, Lux stands before an all-girls class while his homeroom teacher introduces him like he's the last dessert at a buffet. Lux mentally begs whatever higher power is listening to spare his life. On the awkward walk to his desk, he spots a girl who looks like a model. He immediately recognizes her as Philly and blurts out that it's been 7 years since they last met. When the teacher questions their connection, Lux casually explains she's his childhood friend. As class continues, Lux asks to borrow Philly's textbook, but she responds blankly, saying she only answers when called the one with the supreme backside. When Lux stares at her in disbelief, she sighs and says she'll settle for UF FI. Later, Lux gets bombarded by curious girls asking intrusive questions. Before things get too inappropriate, Tilfer steps in and tells everyone to write their questions down. Suddenly, Laysa appears looking distressed. Lux, concerned, asks what's wrong, and she mutters that she wants him as her personal assistant. Her bold request stuns the entire class, but Fee interrupts, pointing out that he seems uncomfortable. Just as the atmosphere heats up, Krypher interrupts, announcing the headmaster wants to see Lux. Outside, Lux thanks her for the save, but Krypher remains cold, asking if he knows about a black hero. Seeing his silence, she warns that her mission is to find that person and settle unfinished business. That night, Lux dreams of a hooded figure advocating mass destruction. It's his brother, Fujil, telling him to become the next great conqueror. Lux resists, arguing there are better options. Moments later, Lux wakes up with his hand touching something soft. When it speaks, he nearly jumps out of bed while Fee stands there. Before Lux can ask if she has boundary issues, Fee drops the bombshell that they're roommates. Horrified, Lux mumbles that if they keep living together like this, there'll be serious consequences. Right on cue, Tilfer walks in, sees the situation, and backs out quietly. Later, Ari confronts Lux with a disappointed tone like a strict parent. Lux explains that Reli's sister approved the living arrangement due to space limitations. Ari grumbles and warns him to behave. Once she leaves, Lux gets to work. He finds Laysa passed out on the floor. She wakes up and reveals she's the head of Drag Knight Maintenance. She updates him on his suit and announces his official entry into the Academy's elite Knight squad. She hands him his weapon, then drags him to the market, insisting they develop more chemistry for potential future seasons. At a local diner, Laysa realizes she forgot her wallet, but Lux takes her somewhere they can buy affordable snacks instead. As they eat, Laysa confesses she feels a strange tightness in her chest. Concerned, Lux brings her to the clock tower for fresh air. He compliments her technical skills and says she'll make a great queen someday. His words hit something deep. Lisa emotionally asks what that even means. Then she reveals her Akkadian crest and the truth. She was once a hostage used against her father who never came to rescue her. After his death, she became the last of her bloodline. A princess carrying trauma, along with her crown. Back at the academy, Lux falls asleep and dreams again. This time facing his younger self, confronting Fujil. Lux demands answers, but Fujil dismisses him as weak, blaming everything on his lack of determination. The next day, Laysa gets briefed on a new monster sighting. Before heading out, she tells Lux to stay safe. Krypher explains he must wait until he's officially enrolled before joining missions. With time on his hands, Lux theorizes with Ari, who shares his suspicion about the increase in monster attacks. In the field, Laysa and her team prepare to engage the monster. Before attacking, they hear that disturbing whistle from the earlier duel. The creature explodes, releasing waves of gargoyles. Among them, a man named Bar reveals himself as a loyalist of the Old Empire and orders the creatures to attack. Back at the academy, Nuko runs in to alert everyone. Ari tries holding Lux back, claiming his equipment isn't strong enough, but determined to help, Lux suits up anyway. He arrives just as Laysa unleashes her gravity power, wiping out many gargoyles. Sheris suggests retreating, but Laysa insists on breaking Bar's flute. 6 more monsters pile on her before slamming her down. Lux jumps in to save her, but she admits defeat, saying she's failed everyone's expectations. Bar tears her uniform, exposing her crest, proudly claiming he marked her. She manages one weak attack before collapsing. Lux catches her before she hits the ground. He urges her not to give up. Bar, surprised by Lux's strength, damages his suit, causing Lux to draw his black sword and summon Baramut, his divine drag ride. Empowered, Lux demolishes Bar's forces. As the dust settles, Bar realizes Lux is the 7th prince of Acadia. He demands to know why Lux betrayed his bloodline, but Lux offers no words, just a clean, swift strike. From a distance, Arai watches everything unfold. She finally confirms what everyone suspected. The Academy's newest addition, the supposedly weakest undefeated fighter, is actually the legendary black hero himself. A few days after Lux joins the Knight Squadron, Arai throws a surprise party to celebrate his position, and the girls take turns congratulating him. Fee tries feeding him a sandwich, but it quickly turns into a competition with Laysa over who has better physical attributes. Reli intervenes to break up the chaos before raising a toast to officially start the celebration. Reli pulls Lux aside and introduces an unusual competition, a request form that gives the holder complete control over Lux for a week. However, there's a catch. If he can avoid the girls for just 1 hour, he won't become anyone's servant. A crowd of the girls rushes toward him. Thinking quickly, Lux runs to the workshop where he finds Laysa focused on her work. She offers him a hiding place and starts asking about his Bahamut abilities. Just as Lux begins feeling uncomfortable, one of the suits grabs him, and he realizes Laysa has always been interested in his powers. Lux pretends to surrender and hands over the form, only to bolt as soon as Laysa lowers her guard. Next, he hides in the bushes, but Philly sneaks up and traps him with her martial arts. Just as she reaches for the form, Lux snatches it back and escapes again. Time is running out, so he finds an empty room and checks the clock, sighing with relief when he sees only 10 minutes remain. As he relaxes, voices approach, and Lux realizes he's in the girls' changing room. Frozen in panic, he overhears a conversation where one girl wonders if Lux is actually a peeping Tom. Just then, Kreifer walks in and catches him. Desperate, Lux hopes for a distraction, but fortunately, Kreifer decides to stay quiet and orders the other girls to go to training without her. Once dressed, Kreifer tells Lux the coast is clear. As Lux sighs with relief, she warns him to be more careful and informs him that he won the challenge just as time ran out. Lux is about to celebrate when Kreifer asks to see the form. Suddenly, the bell rings and Lux realizes the challenge wasn't over. Kreifer reveals that she moved the clock hands to trick him. She leans in and calmly states that she needs him to be her boyfriend. That night, Lux confides in Eri about his predicament, and they enter a private room where Relly waits with the flute bar used to control the gargoyles. Relly tells them the flute is still being investigated and asks Lux to research whether it has greater significance. Eri warns him to be careful around Kreifer, suspecting her intentions might be unclear. The next day at the dining hall, Kreifer opens up about the political pressure she faces as a count's daughter. She reveals her family expects her to marry into another influential royal family, but she refuses to comply. To escape this fate, she plans to use her fake relationship with Lux as leverage. She leans in for a kiss on the cheek and warns Lux that if he doesn't obey, she'll expose his changing room incident. Later that night, Kreifer finishes explaining her plan just as Laysa enters with the others, immediately firing questions at them. When Philly tries to nap on Lux, Laysa's jealousy flares up and Kreifer sees a chance to leave before things get dramatic. However, Laysa stops her and smugly announces that she's held hands with Lux, thinking it will make Kreifer jealous. Instead, Kreifer raises an eyebrow and asks Tilfer if Laysa's mother used drugs during pregnancy. The conversation takes an unexpected turn when Philly casually mentions she once kissed Lux. The next morning, Lux waits for Kreifer only to be stunned by her beauty as she links arms with him and leads him on their first date. Meanwhile, Laysa and Philly secretly follow them. Kreifer takes Lux shopping for suits. When he removes his shirt, Laysa's anger reaches new heights. After exploring the city, they head toward a restaurant, chatting casually until Lux senses danger. Instinctively, he pushes Kreifer out of the way just as rebel soldiers ambush them. Kreifer quickly orders him to distract the rebels while she activates her drag ride. When a drag knight tries to attack him, Kreifer intervenes, using her drag ride's predictive abilities to defeat the remaining enemies. Laysa and Philly emerge from hiding, awkwardly trying to explain why they were following the couple. When one rebel soldier tries to escape, he's intercepted by Alterize, who captures him. Kreifer introduces Alterize as her family's butler. At a nearby restaurant, Kreifer informs Alterize about her relationship with Lux while Laysa desperately tries to keep their secret. Then, Baltzeride enters, greeting Kreifer with the smug declaration that she's destined to be his wife. Laysa recognizes him as a son of one of the 4 great nobles, and Alterize explains that Kreifer's engagement to him is unavoidable. Kreifer, however, refuses to accept this and boldly states she's already with Lux. Baltzeride dismisses Lux as too weak for someone like Kreifer and challenges him to a duel for her hand. Kreifer counters by raising the stakes. Alterize will fight alongside Baltzeride while she teams up with Lux. Baltzeride accepts and gives them 3 days to prepare. The next day, Lux stumbles through the academy halls exhausted. Kreifer sneaks up behind him and thanks him for agreeing to duel with Baltzeride. Lux, half asleep, waves it off casually, adding that they didn't get enough practice time, which Kreifer acknowledges. She also mentions that Lux never seems to get angry, making her wonder what he's thinking. Kreifer casually reveals that Lux isn't actually her real boyfriend. Laysa, who's been eavesdropping, hears this and rushes in excitedly upon learning the truth. Laysa shamelessly celebrates that Lux is still available. Lux sighs again, tired of the drama, and tells Laysa he doesn't have time for this. Later, Lux is walking around when Tilfer grabs his arm, dragging him to a room where he finds Fee and Laysa dressed as maids. Laysa, grinning mischievously, calls him Master. Lux blinks in disbelief. Tilfer grins and calls Lux a dork, explaining that since he had a rough day, Laysa, despite being royalty, will serve him while Fee is just there for support. Lux, clearly bewildered, sighs, thinking to himself about how emotions can change anyone's behavior. Not missing a beat, Tilfer also changes into a maid outfit. As Lux stands there, overwhelmed by the situation, Laysa looks at him expectantly, asking if they're bothering him. Lux quickly reassures her, saying he's very happy to see them dressed as maids, which makes Laysa smile proudly. Meanwhile, back at the Imperial capital, the four nobles gather for an important meeting. Nalf explains that every ruin hides a powerful abyss creature with immense power. Once these forces are suppressed, the Ragnarok Poseidon, the being who imprisoned them, will inevitably awaken and threaten the new empire. After discussion, the nobles agree Baltzaride should explore the ruins to find a weapon capable of neutralizing Ragnarok. Back at the academy, Relly gathers everyone and announces they'll be investigating the ruins. She gives Lux a mysterious horn, explaining that only someone like him can be trusted with such an important item. Lux turns to find Krufer staring at him suspiciously, adding to his confusion. That evening, Lux enjoys a bath, wondering why Krufer, a transfer student, is joining their ruins expedition. His peaceful bath is interrupted when Fee enters unexpectedly. Startled, Lux demands an explanation. Fee calmly states she's just there to relax. Fee nearly falls asleep in the tub when Lux shakes her awake. He asks about a scar he remembers seeing on her back, but she simply says she doesn't recall it. Ifir then warns him to be careful during the ruins investigation and reveals she won't be joining them. Lux thanks her, but before he can recover from her distracting presence, he passes out from the overload. The next morning, the group prepares to leave for the ruins. Before they depart, Baltzaride suddenly arrives, announcing he'll be coming along. Laysa immediately objects, demanding an explanation. The instructor reassures everyone that Baltzaride won't interfere and is only there for Kreifer's safety. With no choice, they proceed to the ruins with Kreifer taking the lead. The others follow, but suddenly Nuko senses a monster nearby. Diabolos, a terrifying creature known for destroying entire cities, appears. They struggle against its overwhelming strength. Laysa quickly fires a blast, forcing the beast back. They try to finish it off, but the creature is too fast, dodging every attack and striking back brutally. Just when things look bleak, Kreifer uses her prediction ability to land a precise hit on its arm. Baltzaride, smirking, belittles the beast as insignificant and unleashes a powerful sonic blast that sends it flying. He then turns to Lux, proposing a deal. If Lux defeats the creature first, he'll cancel their upcoming duel. Kreifer, unimpressed, reminds him that his attack only made the beast angrier. She charges at the monster, relying on her skill to hit it. However, the creature evades her moves and strikes back violently, forcing Lux to protect her. Seizing the opportunity, Baltzaride throws an axe into the monster's chest. The ruins begin glowing ominously. Lux, acting on instinct, shields Kreifer as the light engulfs them both. Lux drifts into a dream, reliving the moment he created a massive crater while practicing a technique with Fugal. When he wakes up, he finds himself inside the ruins. Kreifer, standing nearby, figures out that the explosion from the monster must have pulled them inside. She thanks him for protecting her and suggests they head to the central altar to find the others. As they move through the ruins, Kreifer suddenly stumbles, nearly collapsing. Lux urges her to rest, but her determination keeps her going. Seeing her resolve, Lux offers his shoulder for support as they continue forward. Upon reaching the altar, they realize they're alone. Kreifer hurries ahead while Lux examines the flute, wondering about its significance. Before he can figure it out, the altar activates. Kreifer turns to him and reveals she doesn't belong to the ordinary world. She explains she's a survivor of the ruins and activates a hidden passage, leading them deeper into the unknown. Just as Kreifer finishes confessing she isn't from this world, the ruins begin to shake. Without hesitation, Lux grabs her hand and leads them to safety, only to find themselves trapped. Kreifer crouches beside a strange pod and remarks that while Lux came from humble beginnings, her origin was more unusual. She was found here. Her father discovered her during his expedition in the ruins and brought her home. From then on, the Einfolk family used her as a living key to uncover ancient secrets. Though she had no memory of her origins, she says her life wasn't much better than being a well-dressed experiment. Her desperate need for acceptance drove her to become an exceptional drag knight. But instead of admiration, it only made her seem more different to her family, and receiving a divine drag ride created distance between her and her siblings. When the ruins responded to her presence, she finally understood that no matter how hard she tried, she'd never truly belong to the Einfolk family. Now she just wants to know if anyone in the world could be her real family. Seeing her vulnerability, Lux promises they'll discover the truth together. Kreifer pauses and then says she was just testing him to see if he would accept her regardless. Just as Lux starts protesting, she asks why he's so impossibly kind. Before Kreifer can continue, Lux gets serious and shares his pain of watching his family fall from grace because of his grandfather's actions. He begged for help, but no one listened. That helplessness became bitterness until Philly entered his life and helped him redirect that anger toward the real enemy, the Empire's corruption. Since then, he's tried to be a force for good, no matter how thankless. A drill suddenly breaks through the boulder trapping them. Leysa emerges triumphantly, proudly showing off her upgraded drag ride, and immediately accuses Lux of getting trapped deliberately to spend time alone with Crofer. Later at the academy, Aerie gives Lux tea and casually asks about the altar. He avoids mentioning Crofer and simply says the flute isn't the key. That night, while Lux sleeps, Arai looks at Crofer's command form and quietly remembers the deal she made to keep Lux out of Crofer's complicated situation. Meanwhile, Baltzeride arrives and activates his drag ride, eager to fight Crofer. Altarai stands ready to help, but he drains her strength before attacking Crofer. She anticipates his movements and lands a blow. But when he feints an attack toward Altarai, Crofer rushes to defend her, allowing him to strike and slam her to the ground. He smugly tells her to get up, revealing he arranged the rebel attack and joined the Ruins expedition to expose her true origins. She accuses him of seeing her as just a tool, which he doesn't deny. In fact, he tells her she belongs to him. Just then, Lux appears, blocking Baltzeride's attack. Recognizing Lux as the Black Hero, Baltzeride mocks him, but Lux charges forward without hesitation. During their clash, Lux calmly reveals he's discovered Baltzeride's secret. He drains others' strength and uses it as his own. Baltzeride grins and admits it, then fires at Crofer. Lux shields her and takes the hit, giving Baltzeride a chance to drain his strength too. As Lux weakens, Crofer begs him to stop, but he refuses. Aerie connects mentally with Crofer, urging her to find a solution. Meanwhile, Baltzeride boasts that Crofer's powers will unlock the Ruins, and she breaks down, begging Lux to surrender. But he won't give up. He promises to protect her, not as a soldier or friend, but as someone who loves her. With Baltzeride taunting his fading power, Lux unleashes a hidden ability. He breaks through the barriers and delivers a powerful strike that sends Baltzeride reeling. The next day, Leysa leaves for another mission with Tilfer, while Altarai informs Lux that Crofer's engagement to him has been officially approved by her family. After Altarai leaves, Crofer sits beside Lux and teases him for acting shy after declaring his love publicly. He awkwardly tells her to stop, and she smirks, saying she isn't completely in love with him. He's not even her type. Lux forces a laugh, clearly disappointed, but she leans in with sparkling eyes and says she actually admires his courage. Then she kisses him, leaving him speechless. That's when Leysa bursts through the door like a horror movie jump scare, catching them mid-kiss and looking ready for murder. Late one night, a cloaked student tries to sneak past the academy gates. Relly intercepts them and delivers a lecture about not meeting boys at night. Once out of sight, the student nervously removes their hood, revealing it's Lux in disguise. Earlier that day, Sheris had informed Lux that the academy was under partial lockdown. There were reports of a pervert sneaking around, normally unrelated except that a dangerous Ragnarok was also in the area. She reminds Lux that with Baltzeride out of commission, their backup plan now includes trusting hormone-driven students with powerful weapons. Seeing Lux's worried expression, she assures him they can rely on Celestia Ralgris, a third-year prodigy, Noble's daughter, an intensely independent fighter. Lux barely reacts, probably bracing himself for whatever bad decision comes next. Sure enough, Sheris assigns him to patrol duty. Then Nuko and Tilfer appear and force him into a girl's uniform to help catch the Prowler. Now cross-dressed and wandering the grounds, Lux encounters a girl whispering to a cat. Before he can question his life choices, a hooded figure appears and throws a knife. The girl immediately shields Lux, takes the hit like it's nothing, and watches the attacker vanish into smoke. She takes Lux to the infirmary, and after suggesting he remove his shirt, agrees to treat his wound through his clothes instead. When Lux mentions the cat, she casually explains that the cat has no friends, so she decided to befriend the only creature at the academy that isn't annoying. She introduces herself as Celestia Ralgris and leaves with a warning about the dangers of wandering at night looking like an easy target. The next day, Lux is still processing this when Leysa drags him into a lunchtime debate about public affection and proper behavior. Crofer offers her lap as a pillow, which Leysa rejects, knowing the implications. Meanwhile, Baltzeride receives a final visit from his partner, who reveals a plan to destroy humanity before casually detonating him. The guards arrive just in time to see monsters escaping like jailbreakers. Back at the academy, Tilfer brings Lux to another meeting where Celestia is filing a formal complaint against him. Leysa counters that Lux has saved the academy repeatedly, but Celestia remains determined to remove him. Despite knowing this is beyond her authority, Relly suggests a duel at the island, which Celestia accepts with confidence. Later, Sonia thanks Celestia for trying to remove Lux from the academy. At the island, Celestia begins training by pushing everyone to exhaustion, then wonders why everyone is passed out at dinner. Lux tries returning the disguise uniform, but Cheris tells him to keep it just in case. Soon after, he receives a note requesting a massage. Still disguised, he enters the room and finds Celestia waiting. He fakes his voice, completes the massage, and hopes to leave quickly. Celestia casually mentions she knew who he was all along, then invites him to spend more time together. Shortly after, Sonia tries to question Lux about why he exists. Thankfully, Crowfer shows up just in time and saves Lux by vouching for him. After Sonia leaves, she warns Lux to watch his back since Sonia wants him kicked out. That night, Lux wakes up to find Philly standing by the window wearing a nightgown that definitely breaks several dress codes. She slides into his bed saying she wants a childhood hug, ignoring all reasonable objections about how her chest is developed enough to make him want to give her a baby. After getting her hug, she swears she'll take on Celestia herself if that's what it takes to keep him close. The next day, Celestia takes Lux shopping for swimwear. She picks one that looks more like a social experiment than actual clothing. With his hormones going crazy, Lux bolts from the store trying to salvage whatever dignity he has left. Celestia finds him later, apologizing for overwhelming him with too much physical closeness. When everything's good between them again, they share lunch under a tree where she talks about not trusting people, but feeling comfortable around animals. Lux listens carefully as Celestia opens up a bit more. At the Imperial capital, Queen and Nalf receive bad news that their team couldn't find the Ragnarok. Their frustration quickly turns to panic when they learn that only its empty shell was found. Meanwhile, at the beach, Sonia gives Celestia a questioning look, wondering why she allowed Lux to join them swimming, considering they both dislike men. Celestia stutters nervously, trying to explain that she doesn't actually hate men. In fact, she claims to love them so much, she could easily beat Bonnie Blue's challenge of dating 1,000 guys. Backpedaling quickly, Celestia tries to seem more dignified, saying her fondness for men comes solely from the strong male teachers she's had throughout her life. The real issue is that she has no idea how to act around boys her age since she's too busy to date, let alone figure out how to talk to them. Later, Lux strolls onto the beach, eyes widening at all the beautiful girls. Acting innocent and shy, he plays it cool. Crucifer, buying his act, teases him by suggesting he might want pictures of their bodies for his private collection. Just then, Filthy splashes Lux with water from her chest. As Lux tries to avoid Philly's awkward attempt to clean him, he notices Leysa struggling nearby. He approaches her, but Leysa, disgusted, tries to get rid of him when Relly and Ari arrive. Relly feels nostalgic for her younger years, while Ari pouts because her own cleavage is always playing peekaboo. Celestia and Sonia reluctantly show up, complaining about being forced to swim. Relly questions why they'd wear such revealing swimsuits if they didn't even want to swim. Celestia sighs, explaining she wore hers just because of Luno, and starts looking for her, not realizing she's actually looking at him. Cheris, Tilfer, and Nudo corner Lux, begging him to dress as Luno to keep Celestia happy. Lux, having had enough, runs away only to bump into Celestia, who gives him a cold reception. Lux looks at her with sad puppy dog eyes. In his mind, he remembers how Celestia once confided in him as Luno about his grandfather's death and her need to protect him by keeping him out of the academy. The next day in the island arena, Regri announces the duel rules before Lux and Celestia activate their drag rides. Nudo wonders why Lux isn't using his Black Divine drag ride, but Ori hints that he's hiding its true power. As the duel begins, Karis and Tilfer catch a stalker who turns out to be Sanya, a spy for a foreign republic. With sword drawn, she threatens to kill them. Suddenly, flute music fills the air, activating Sonia's drag ride as she charges forward. Meanwhile, Celestia fires a lightning blast at Lux, but he counters with his recoil burst. She teleports to charge her cannon, but giant tentacles erupt from the ground. Leysa orders everyone to evacuate while Ari frantically searches for Philly, who stumbles into Relai's arms. During the chaos, Celestia takes a hard hit and Lux rushes to check on her. That's when he reveals they're not fighting just any monster. They're facing Ragnarok, which is about to complete its resurrection. Angry, Celestia tries to attack the beast, but Sonia interrupts, warning that the battle isn't over yet. Lux realizes the hooded figure controlling Ragnarok is actually his brother, Fugel. As Ragnarok becomes more violent, Sonia attacks Celestia, but Lux blocks her strike. Sonia mocks him for protecting someone who betrayed his grandfather. Using the smoke from Ragnarok's attack, she blasts them both away. Lux wakes Celestia, who tearfully admits she exposed the former Empire's corruption to his grandfather. When he tried to stand up to the corrupt nobles, he was arrested, and their family was exiled. Expecting Lux to hate her, she's shocked when he reveals he's actually Luno in disguise and activates his black drag ride. With incredible speed, he charges at Ragnarok, cutting through its defenses, even tearing part of Sonia's suit in the process. Celestia confronts Sonia, demanding she surrender or face deadly force. Sonia challenges her to take the shot, but Celestia hesitates, allowing Sonia to escape just as Lux destroys Ragnarok's head. Victory seems certain until a hooded figure warns Lux that he missed the core. Sonia removes the core from the beast and picks up the mysterious person. Lux confronts the hooded figure, who finally reveals herself as Haze, not his brother. She promises to recreate the nightmare from 5 years ago. Later, Lux tends to Celestia, who forgives his disguise in exchange for helping her improve her flirting skills with guys. In return, she promises to support his place in the academy. Lux, however, struggles to piece together the dark memories of what happened 5 years ago. Just then, the island shakes as a massive ruin emerges from the ocean. Stunned, the group listens as Ree gathers everyone and announces it's time to get to work. 9 years earlier, in the Imperial capital, Fugel breaks a valuable statue and Bar quickly suggests they blame one of the girls to avoid punishment. Later that day, Philly stands in an office, ready to take the blame for the damage. Lux steps in, offering to take responsibility himself. As he leaves, Philly stops him, shoves a biscuit into his mouth, introduces herself, and begins a lasting friendship. The day after the mysterious ruins appear, Lux checks on Philly, who feels obligated to join the investigation. Meanwhile, Lisa pulls Lux aside and shows him a new override program for his drag ride that removes its limiter. She warns him that using it too much could kill him early. Lux, being who he is, can't resist the temptation. At the ruins, the group gathers and R'lyeh announces that Arawas will help with the investigation. As they climb to the second floor, Arai detects faint signs of plant life, despite the sealed environment. After Nudo's scan shows no abyss creatures, R'lyeh divides the group. Celestia, eager to pair up with Lux, is disappointed when Ari assigns her to the third floor alone, ruining any chance of getting close to Lux. However, Lux politely offers to let her join his group briefly, restoring her hopes. As they continue exploring, Ari warns Lux not to flirt with Nokudo, who scoffs, noting that Lux has never even looked her way. Lux quickly compliments Nico just to boost her spirits. Suddenly, Nokudo's radar activates and Lux moves some rubble to find a girl sleeping underneath. Krufer arrives just as they start examining the girl. Concerned the stranger might be dangerous, Krufer orders Nuko and Eri to leave. When she touches the girl's face, the stranger briefly stirs, mumbles something, then falls back asleep. Trying again, Krufer speaks to her, but the girl calls her Administrator, confusing Krufer, who asks what exactly she is. The girl introduces herself as Karash, an automaton tasked with supervising the ruins. She claims her memory has been erased and begs Krufer not to abandon her. With a reassuring smile, Krufer promises she's not going anywhere, relieving Karash. Karuch explains that she recognizes Krufer as an administrator linked to the ruins database and offers to activate the remaining functions of the site. As the rest of the group returns and starts talking with Karush, Krufer quietly shares her concerns with Lux, revealing that Couch mentioned a mysterious creator with ultimate authority over her. Before they can discuss it further, Arai directs Lux's group to the 7th floor. But first, Lux finds Philly looking exhausted and offers to carry her to conserve her energy. Meanwhile, back at the royal capital, the queen and nobles plan their strategy against Bar's rebel army while dealing with a shortage of drag knights. In the ruins, Nu and R'lyeh make a disturbing discovery: capsules containing abyss creatures. Filthy tenses up, feeling a cold sensation scrambling her thoughts. Deeper inside the ruin, Haze summons the abyss using her flute, forcing Lux to rush to Tilfer's aid, fighting a Diablo-class abyss creature and losing part of his drag ride suit in the process. Elsewhere, Karush begins malfunctioning, prompting Krufer to warn Lux that when the automaton glitches, it typically triggers 3 guardian abyss creatures to awaken. Despite Lux suggesting they abort the mission, Ree insists they continue since the abyss creatures are already free. As Lux and R'lyeh argue like a divorced couple, Filthy impatiently activates her drag ride and races ahead, with Lux chasing after her. After catching up, they find an altar that teleports them outside, where an abyss creature charges at Lux. However, Filthy holds it back using her tentacles while Lux finishes it off with his recoil burst skill. Just when they think they've won, old memories flood Lux's mind. Memories from 5 years ago when this church was used for human experiments, but seeing images of Philly in the same place confuses him. As they go deeper, Lux finds Philly again. But when he approaches her, her expression darkens. She whispers about another abyss creature, and her hands tighten around his throat as something dark and evil takes control of her. Years ago, just before Philly and her family were leaving the Imperial Court, Lux promised he would make the Empire safe for her. Feeling brave, Filthy kissed Lux for luck. Fortunately, that memory of their kiss breaks her free from the mind control. Just then, Hayes walks in, watching the chaos with an amused smile. Meanwhile, deep in the ruins, Culifer and Lisa easily defeat an abyss creature, but something feels wrong. Ari calls to say they're nearing the depths of the ruins, but Sheris warns them about Kush mentioning they need a key to enter. Meanwhile, Lux demands answers from Hayes, who reveals that a Ragnarok seed inside Filthy is controlling her, draining her life force and pushing her to defeat Lux. Despite its power, Philly has resisted longer than expected, which explains all her headaches. That night, Lux sits beside Philly, troubled by the deal he made with Hayes, 2 days free from the seed's control in exchange for Crucifer unlocking the ruins. When Philly wakes up hungry, Lux feeds her. But when he notices Ragnarok's influence in her eyes, he steps outside. R'lyeh approaches him, reminding him of their encounter 5 years ago at the church. Filthy had been subjected to the Akkadian Empire's experiments, and despite Lux trying to save her, the seed took hold and transformed her into an abyss creature. R'lyeh reveals she's been investigating the island to find a cure, and believes the ruins' power can save her sister. Later, Lux thinks about the time Philly comforted him after his mother died. Before he can get too nostalgic, Leysa interrupts with news about the risky overlimit upgrade on his drag ride. Ari questions if it's necessary, but their conversation is cut short by Fugil's voice on the communications system. He explains that breaking the flute and defeating Ragnarok are the keys to saving Philly. That afternoon, Lux finds Philly staring out her window. She urges him not to worry, saying he has enough friends to be happy without her. Lux hugs her tightly, promising to save her because she means everything to him. Hearing that, Fee tells Lux her heart is overflowing with love for him. The next day, they reach the ruins where Lisa is ready to break down the door when Karash refuses to reveal what the key is. Seeing the commotion, Crossover uses her administrator access to unlock the door, and they venture inside. Suddenly, Kuche regains her memories, revealing her mission is to punish them for betraying her master. Just then, Hayes appears, using the flute to unleash Philly on them. As the team activates their drag rides, Karash summons unmanned suits to distract them. Philly quickly overpowers Celestia and slams her and Culifer together with her whips. Seeing her students struggling, R'lyeh warns them about Philly's unique powers, while Ari decides to use the flute to her advantage. Just when everything seems about to explode, Fugil arrives, grinning like he's watching a show. Ari plays the second flute, overriding Hayes' control over Philly. Hayes tries to retaliate, but Filthy stops her. The team thinks they've won until Hayes uses the flute to summon Ragnarok. They launch a barrage of attacks, but the creature only grows stronger with each hit. Determined to stop it, Lux calls out to Leysa, asking for control of Overlimit. Hesitantly, she begins the transfer as Lux struggles to hold off the creature, while its relentless assault starts to overwhelm him. Fugil's mocking voice echoes in Lux's mind, reminding him of the weakling he used to be. Gritting his teeth, Lux refuses to give up. When Leysa finally gives the signal, Philly's voice cuts through the chaos, encouraging him to fight for his dreams. With a burst of strength, he breaks free, activating Overlimit on unleashing Bahamut's full power. Lux tears through Ragnarok with incredible force. Hayes stares in disbelief, but Fugil calmly states that if even a supercharged Ragnarok can't defeat Lux, the fight is already over. Later that evening, Philly visits Lux in his room, smiling softly. She tells him she can now resist the flute's control, her eyes glistening with gratitude as she thanks him for keeping his promise. A few days after the resurrection, Lux finds himself trapped in yet another party, celebrating his quick recovery. But Lux, clearly exhausted from being the center of attention, makes it clear he wants no more celebrations. The girls ignore his protests completely, and the party continues. R'lyeh struts in during the commotion, and Lux immediately asks what happened to the island after their adventure. R'lyeh casually mentions she had to pay a hefty fine, but says it's nothing to worry about. Later that night, the group gathers to plan for the upcoming Foundation Festival. Leysa tries to speak with Lux, but before she can start, Kreifer smoothly asks him on a date. But Cheris interrupts, announcing Celestia has already booked time with him. Filthy joins in too. Realizing she'll miss her chance if she waits any longer, Lisa declares Lux will be her date for the festival. Lux, now visibly nervous like he's in a dating competition, is rescued by Relly, who announces that whoever worked hardest during training camp will get to date Lux at the festival. The next day, Lux spends time with Ari, who casually mentions that the festival includes an all-drag night tournament. Nobles from different nations will compete, and the winner earns the right to explore ancient ruins. She advises Lux to keep a low profile given his recent brush with death. She also mentions a dangerous assassin drag knight who escaped from the Akkadian Empire. Later, Lux finds himself dressed like a butler at a fancy cafe. When he asks Sheris why, she explains that since he'll be spending time with Celestia later, he might as well look the part. On their date, Celestia and Lux try various festival stalls. Celestia drinks quite a bit, and eventually they find a quiet fountain where she mumbles about wanting to be loved like Lux, who's popular with everyone. Lux modestly attributes it to his personality, but Celestia knows there's more to his appeal. As he helps Celestia up, an accidental stumble leads to an awkward moment. With Celestia's time over, Lux heads to his next appointment, the Noble Ball. Crucifer appears in a stunning dress that leaves Lux breathless. She offers to teach him how to dance since she knows he grew up poor. On the balcony, they spot Alter, watching them. Kryfer, being mischievous, pretends to kiss Lux to make Alter-Race jealous. She walks away, leaving Lux stunned and excited. After changing outfits again, Lux meets Philly, whose outfit can barely contain her figure. From the shadows, Relly watches proudly. Unlike the other girls, Philly skips the small talk and takes Lux to a quiet church, offers her lap as a pillow, and sincerely thanks him. Lux enjoys a peaceful nap. Later, on his way out, he runs into Leysa, who's still upset about being skipped. Before he can excuse himself, Leysa surprises him by asking him to be her knight. Lux points out that he's a criminal and former prince, making him a risky choice, but Lisa starts singing. The next day, Ari invites Lux up to the clock tower for another safety talk. Just as she starts warning him about the assassin called Blade, a dark figure appears. The mystery woman introduces herself as Euroka, an expert from the Akkadian Empire. She calls Lux master, confusing him greatly. As Lux tries to decide how to respond, Ari pulls him back to reality. Valuing his boundaries, Lux tells Yuruka to stop with the master thing and walks away. That night, Lux's bath is interrupted when Yuruka joins him uninvited. As usual, Lux reacts with shock and ends up attracting the attention of all the girls. Yuruka calmly begins asking about overthrowing the Empire and restoring Adia. Lux refuses, leaving Yuruka confused. Suddenly, she spins around and blocks a sneak attack from Celestia, starting an all-out fight. Yuruka quickly takes control of Philly's drag ride and joins the battle. As chaos erupts, Yuruka cryptically mentions a secret plan that could change the Empire's fate. With that, she disappears into the night. On the final day of the festival, Lisa practices her speech while waiting for Lux, who soon arrives with his usual charm. She reminds him of her request about becoming her knight, but adds there's no rush. He can take his time deciding. Elsewhere, Hayes stands in a ruin with Yuruka, Sonia, and a new automaton. After Yuruka leaves to implement their plan, Sonia questions her loyalty. Hayes dismisses the concern, confident the automaton will follow orders like the destructive tool it is. Meanwhile, Lux and Ari are summoned to a meeting in the capital. The nobles reveal that Bar plans to revive the fallen kingdom of Adia using rebels, and that over 100 abyss creatures have been spotted in nearby villages. Lux is tasked with acting as bait to draw out the abyss while also destroying the flute that controls them. Ari objects, calling the mission too dangerous, but Nuo offers to drop all charges from the island incident if Lux accepts. There's also a bonus task when he must win the All-Dragon tournament. Despite Ares' concerns, Lux accepts both missions. On their way back, Ares asks how he'll succeed with only 12 minutes left in his divine drag ride. Lux assures her he'll figure it out, then apologizes for worrying her. Later, he asks Lisa to help improve a regular drag ride, hoping to rely less on Bahamut. Lisa agrees, but their conversation is interrupted when Lux spots Uka and follows her. He confronts her about her loyalty to Adia despite its fall. Yuruka shares her past, revealing she was born with assassination abilities that isolated her from society. Her only emotional connection was to her kind-hearted twin brother. After they were captured, her brother was held hostage by Lux's father, who forced her to serve Adia to save her twin. Though her brother eventually died, she remains determined to restore Adia in his memory. Unmoved by her tragic story, Lux warns her not to cause trouble, and Yuruka responds with a subtle threat. The next day, Ree gathers everyone for a final briefing before the tournament. Celestia, Crucifer, and Filthy win their matches, boosting everyone's confidence since victory is guaranteed if Leysa and Lux win their respective matches. Right on cue, Leysa arrives to check on Lux's match. He finishes his duel quickly to attend to his other mission. While Lux leaves for his second task, Lisa enters a tag team match. During the match, her drag ride malfunctions and fires into the crowd. Crucifer intervenes and stops the chaos with her freeze ability, but Laysa is immediately arrested for endangering the public. In the field, Lux patrols near a village when Sanya ambushes him with a fiery attack. She then uses the flute to summon hordes of abyss creatures. Lux leads them toward Bugreiser's soldiers, allowing them to intercept. Afterward, Bugreiser thanks him and tells him to rest. Back in the capital, the girls learn about Lux's mission. Krufer suspects Yuruka might be remotely controlling the drag rides and suggests they track her down to clear Laysa's name. Lux's break doesn't last long. A sudden explosion shakes the camp as the rebel army launches a surprise attack on Bugreiser's forces. Realizing this was their real goal, to weaken the army after the tournament, Lux rushes into action. Meanwhile, Nudo announces the tournament's cancellation due to the full-scale invasion. Lux confronts Bar, accusing him of being manipulated by foreign interests. Bar dismisses this and declares his intention to take the throne. They engage in an intense battle with Bar, gaining the upper hand, but the fight is interrupted when a massive Ruin-class machine appears. Bar reveals it's a manned weapon, forcing Lux to activate Bahamut for a final confrontation. As Lux flies toward the towering mechanical warrior, Bar blocks his path, determined to stall him until Bahamut's 12-minute limit expires. They clash mid-air, trading powerful blows. Just as Bar lands a solid hit, cutting into Lux's armor, he realizes too late it was a decoy. The real Lux reappears and sends Bar crashing away with a swift counterattack. Moments later, Ari contacts him with an update on Laysa's situation. Meanwhile, in the royal prison, Sonya visits Laysa's cell, cunningly claiming the giant warrior will soon destroy the kingdom unless she surrenders. Laysa refuses, expressing faith in Lux. Sonya mockingly tries to humiliate her, but Lux arrives just in time. Laysa, embarrassed by her earlier failure, apologizes, but Lux reassures her. Outside, the girls are already battling the giant weapon with coordinated attacks, though the damage is minimal. Hayes remains confident in her creation's invincibility. Lisa and Lux join the battlefield. Hayes mocks Laysa's return, questioning her abilities. Together, they strike the giant with renewed force and call on the others to join. Inside the cockpit, the automated report system failures, causing Hayes to panic, yet the battle continues as rebel forces infiltrate the capital. Lux assigns Krufer and Filthy to defend the city from abyss, creatures, and gargoyles, while he and Laysa handle the warrior. Before they can proceed, an unexpected blast hits the capital. Hayes reappears, now piloting a divine drag ride. Meanwhile, Sonya searches the streets for new targets until Celestia intercepts her, ready to settle their score. On the battlefield, Lisa engages Hayes in an aerial duel. Lux finds Yuruka waiting for him, explaining she plans to help Hayes build a new empire since he rejected her offer. Lux points out contradictions in her story, questioning why she'd fight for a kingdom that killed her brother. Yuruka admits embellishing parts of her past for sympathy, though her brother's death at Acadia's hands remains true and fuels her loyalty. Lux offers her a different path, noting that others like Lisa found healing without revenge. Yuruka remains unmoved and attacks Lux. He urges her to let go of the past and return to the person her brother once loved. Seeing her hesitate, Lux seizes the opportunity, knocking her from the sky. As Yuruka lies defeated, she asks why he opposes Adia's restoration. Lux calmly reveals he helped destroy it himself, disgusted by the royal family's cruelty and abuse of power. Suddenly, the giant warrior reactivates, preparing a devastating attack on the capital. Hayes knocks Laysa aside, declaring the battle lost, but Lux catches her mid-fall, determined to end this fight. Just before the weapon fires, Euroa rises and disables its core with a surprise strike, shutting down the giant. Hayes furiously launches one final desperate attack, but Lux intercepts with a powerful blow, finally ending the battle. That evening, Lisa delivers her speech to a cheering crowd, officially naming Lux her knight. During the celebration, Lux thanks her for trusting him. Across the room, Fugel watches from the shadows holding a black sword, before vanishing silently. As the night continues, Laysa tries to speak privately with Lux, only to find herself surrounded by the other girls, now including Yuruka, who has recovered quickly. And so, life at the academy returns to normal, with every woman vying for Lux's attention. Would you want to transfer to a school where everyone's attracted to you?